I'm a 17-year-old female who is scared to go into Walmart, Walgreens, or anywhere by myself. I read articles all the time about kids who are stolen while out with their friends and family, who are never heard from again. Trafficking is a huge problem that plagues our world, and even good old safe Nebraska. Less than an hour from where I live, multiple sources list Omaha as one of the larger areas for trafficking. Interstate I-80 is also where a lot of trades and sales of these people are being transported to and from, and it's an interstate that me and my family use all the time. I plan to address different types of trafficking worldwide, sex trafficking in Nebraska and I-80, and what is being done to stop this. Human trafficking is defined by the Nebraska Family Alliance as modern-day slavery in which people profit from exploiting others through force, fraud, coercion, or deception. It truly is a problem, and it happens everywhere, even here in the good life. The Department of Health and Human Services defines sex trafficking as recruiting, harboring, transporting, providing, or obtaining a person for a commercial sex act that is induced by force, fraud, or coercion. This can also be seen anywhere, and I hear about cases more daily and more frequently than I have in a long time. I hear about these stories of men following women and young kids in shopping malls and in stores, and men following teen girls out to their cars, and they are just even taking to social media and coming up with scams to try to get young girls involved in fake modeling companies and creating fake accounts and starting to follow girls and stalk them just to try to get close to them. The last type of trafficking is labor trafficking. The Department of Health and Human Services also says it's defined by recruiting, harboring, transporting, providing, or obtaining a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt, bondage, and slavery. It's a lot like trafficking for sex, it's just used for work instead. Some possible red flags that you might notice that would indicate signs of a trafficking situation could include unpaid or paid very little, is not free to leave or go home when they wish, works excessively long or unusual hours, is fearful, anxious, depressed, submissive, tense, or nervous and paranoid. Others might include not in control of their bank account, avoidance of eye contact, and is not allowed breaks. Sex trafficking occurs in places you really wouldn't expect. It does happen in big cities like Omaha and Lincoln, but it really happens more in smaller towns and at public events such as fairs. In NET Nebraska's article interview, they brought up a story where girls from Florida were brought here to Nebraska during the state fair. For the state fair, we did have 3 ladies brought on motorcycle from Daytona Beach, Florida, into the community, locked in hotels for multiple days, she said. Then the gentleman who had brought them there, who they thought they knew and thought were acquaintances of theirs, brought multiple men in, blindfolded them, and forced them to have sex. This event was at the state fair in Grand Island, and it happens even in towns like Hastings during the Adams County Fair and Kearney during the bike night in town. Even in the smaller tri-cities, sex trafficking happens, and it's becoming a problem. I-80 is one of the causes helping sex trafficking run smoother. Rest stops along the interstate are also common grounds for trades and selling. Yet, these crimes are rarely stopped, and these criminals keep committing these acts. The Human Trafficking Hotline says the total number of victims of sex trafficking from phone lines being hacked and such is 45,441 people. 45,000 plus people were stolen and taken from everything that they knew, just from phone calls and internet hacking. These people didn't have to stalk them around stores or just find them randomly. They sought them out using phones and the internet that they hacked. Out of 8,524 cases, 6,081 were sex trafficking related, and this is just in Nebraska. Out of the same number of cases, 7,067 were females being bought and sold all over Nebraska. So what's being done to stop all of this? Because I might have sounded negative saying how nothing's being done and these cases still exist all over. Yet there are still some efforts being made, and here's just a few of them. The Seattle Times posted an article from Attorney General Doug Peterson's announcement about trying to clamp down on sex trafficking in Nebraska. You're going to pay a really significant price if you're caught. Peterson said the Nebraska State Patrol plans to increase its enforcement efforts later this year, and the newly passed laws will help. Soliciting a minor for sex now carries a penalty of 20 years to life in prison. Lawmakers are also considering passing a bill that helps further restrict trafficking. This whole initiative and campaign is called the Demand an End campaign, and it is a multi-year project. It will be posted in libraries, recreation centers, truck stops, and businesses. The campaign started in Seattle, Washington, and is now being shared with Nebraskans to try to help bring justice to these women and children. Remember, trafficking is not just a big city problem 20 hours away. It is a problem all across the world and even in our own backyard. At our fairs, our town gatherings, and right outside our window as we drive down the boring I-80 all the time. The more informed we can be, the safer we, along with our families, can be. We hear all the time, if you see something, say something. Remember the red flags we discussed earlier and report suspicious activity to the authorities so young women and children don't have to live in fear of being stolen, sold, and forced into a life no one would choose for themselves.